Ian, Nintendo, as you know, as we've covered over the years, has a history of going after fan projects, most importantly, fan games of their IP in the past. We've seen it for Metroid. We've seen it for Earthbound games and others.
Pokemon, probably the big one.
Pokemon. And that's what this one is. A Pokemon first-person shooter came online with some videos, and the creator spoke about it, and Nintendo scrubbed it from YouTube and Twitter. It is gone, with nary a GIF or two remaining of it, like on this Kotaku article. This comes from Luke Plunkett. For the past month, Reddit user Dragon_GameDev2 has been working on a side project imagining a PC Pokemon game, but built using Unreal Engine that you played in first person. While your thoughts may be drifting towards something resembling Pokemon Snap, Dragon Game Dev 2 had more violent plans. He instead showed off videos where players are dropped into a Pokemon-filled landscape, given modern firearms, and set free to hunt and defend themselves from as many of the pocket monsters as they liked. So yeah, there's like, guys got it's like a assault rifle.
Taking out a Hitmonchan,
That's
a Pikachu.
That one's a shotgun. What's that big purple one he's shooting there?
I have no idea.
Yeah, shooting them, blood's coming out, and they're falling dead. There's Pikachu getting some lead there. Yeah, it was posted to the Indie Gaming Reddit, and then lickety split. It was Nintendo's lawyers took care of that, and we'll talk about the author's response here on Kotaku, which we talk about. We probably brought this author up before in the past. This was the author's take. This sucks, just like it always does, because unlike many other major international companies, Nintendo seems utter unwilling or even unable to differentiate between commercial projects that infringe on their copyrights and fan-made playthings that are free and made for fun. Luke, you should know this as an article writer, that whether or not something is free or commercial has nothing to do with most copyright law. Has zero to do with it. This, for example, was the first in a year-long series Dragon Game Dev 2 hopes to complete, where they make a new game every month. Yeah. Bad take from Luke there at the end. But I guess what it comes down to is this. We talked about Nintendo coming down on these projects in the past, like the Metroid 2D remake, which Nintendo shut down because they were developing their own that they put out. What was that, like 3 years ago?
Yeah, thereabouts 3-4 years ago.
So in this case, it's obviously something that probably would not compete with a Nintendo product. As my printer, remember like my ghost printer in the condo used to happen, or was that here? Anyway, it's cleaning itself. So shut up, printer. So in this case, this would not be a competing product, but you're using Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's IP. Nintendo has they're a shareholder in the Pokemon Company. They're basically synonymous in terms of like what they put out. This is wiped from the internet. So in the past, when we talk about Nintendo, should Nintendo go after these companies? I always spoke about, God, that fucking printer, I'm ready to shut it off. We always spoke about how Nintendo had a legal obligation in terms of copyright law to go after just about all these, because if they didn't, this is what happens. Say Nintendo didn't go after that Metroid game, and say Nintendo didn't go after the Earthbound games and the other games in the past. If this came up, they would have less legal ground to go after this game, because they can point and say, listen, you're coming after me, you didn't go after those other games. And that's why this stuff has to happen. And obviously, this is a extreme case. This is, like, to me, a reprehensible use of the IP, because it's a children's game and product.
I think it's amusing. I mean, it was just obviously a weird little thing someone did for fun. I don't know if it's reprehensible, man. It's
reprehensible because if a kid searches for Pokemon game, this comes up. That's why Nintendo goes after this stuff. That's why they have to.
I wish they didn't go after as much. Someone like a company like Sega doesn't go after their stuff. There's plenty of fan games, and it doesn't seem to affect them. But I understand the legal rights and wrongs of this, and I understand why they say they need to go after it. I just wish people were allowed to have a little bit of fun without Nintendo swooping in every
I don't think this is
single time. I don't know why you're so offended by someone making a stupid first-person shooter with Pokemon.
With Pokemon, which is a children's property?
That millions of adults play.
Don't care. It's a children's property. That's how it started.
Okay.
The millions of adults started as children.
It's extremely prude.
It's still marketed to... What's that?
It's extremely prude and weird that you would get offended by it.
And I'm not even a big fan of Pokemon.
That's odd.
And prude has to do with sex, by the way. But that's okay.
You know what I'm trying to say. I understand why they have to do it. And my response to this is not so much to get mad at Nintendo, and I'm not mad at the people who are doing it, but it's just we've seen this for years and years and years. And obviously, nothing you do with a Nintendo property is ever going to be allowed to breathe more than 2 breaths. So I just would say stop doing it. Stop putting effort into things that you know are going to get taken down. Nintendo's not going to change on this. Go make a Sega fan game. That would be my take.
Nintendo has to go after this because, again, it's a child franchise first and foremost. They have to. And like I said, if not, okay, if they do this, you're going to have other stuff pop up. And this is what I talk about IP law and why you have to have protection of property. It's to prevent stuff like your property getting mended or molded into something that it was not set out to do. Like if there was no intellectual property laws, then you have people making Mario porn games and putting them on Steam. Shit like that. You get into this world where the original idea behind a creation has no meaning anymore because anyone could abuse it. That's the whole point.
Well, it also goes back to some of the stuff we said about NFTs and the voice NFTs and stuff. People not thinking about having their voice then be used to say awful things. The intent of the message is lost.
Here's some of the comments here. It's mind-blowing. This needs to be said. It's like people have no clue there exist entire legal teams whose job is to hunt down copyright infringing work. Or if they do know such things exist, they're intentionally playing ignorant so they can get mad at Kotaku. Oh, okay, answer my question. No. That's not the point here. And plus, Nintendo's not going to come after Kotaku for reporting on it because they're allowed to report on it.
No, what this person's trying to say is they're arguing against the fact that basically Kotaku is getting shit for covering these because every time Kotaku covers them, they get taken down.
No, that's not.
And what they're saying is obviously it's not Kotaku is not the one breaking the news of this to someone on a Nintendo legal team. I mean that's their job is to go out there and hunt the shit down.
Another response, it's weird to me that a gaming website is constantly surprised at the existence of copyright law and doesn't seem to quite grasp that the law does not require that you make money off the infringement for it to be illegal.
That is true.
The author says, this is Ian's stance, equally weird for me is despite Nintendo is the only company to go to these lengths when many others from Microsoft on down don't just avoid such punitive actions, but sometimes even work with the modders and creators responsible. Luke, you think that Nintendo wants to work with this creator? They slap together a quick little game and rip their assets from existing games in order to shoot them in the face with guns. You think Nintendo say we want you on your team? Your creative brilliance is gonna show through our next Pokemon game? Come on, let's get real there. Their reputation for litigiousness aside, is there a path you can imagine that would have Nintendo, protective of the child safety of several of their franchises, agree to work with a developer making a game where the characters of one of those franchises are murdered? Oh, thanks. I just said. I think Nintendo needs to chill out on legal stuff pretty much weekly, but for this I'm not so sure.
This is not the example to make. I mean, because you look at stuff like Sega, it's like, okay, Sega works with people. Yeah, that's because Sega saw, Christian Whitehead and the people who were making Sonic fan games and said, holy shit,
this is better.
This is better than anything we've put out in years. We're going to reach out to this person.
Yes.
But that is a person who is making a fan game in, I guess, good faith. I'm not offended and I have no problem with the stupid first-person shooter Pokemon thing, but that was never going to be more than a joke on the internet for more than, a week. It's not like that person was going to get hired on at Nintendo to make, the next, Pokemon of duty.
The response to that,
Call of Pokemon.
Luke says, equally weird to me is that despite this, Nintendo is the only company to go to these links when many others. Okay. Another response was, I don't think you see Microsoft or Sony loving the idea of a fan-made game where Master Chief or Crash Bandicoot was shot and killed, do you? That's a great point. Again, it comes from, I guess, the place where you're coming from.
I understand the sentiment. It's just this is a weird example to stake your flag on.
Yeah, I guess that's the point. Like that's the point. If there's ever a game where you wanted to take down, it would be this. Out of all the other Nintendo ones,
these arguments would be far better made on something like, which it probably was at the time, but save your breath for the next time they take down something like a Metroid 2 remake. Something that actually had like some passion in it that could have been, a very good commercial product. That's when you want to see the company reach out instead of shut down. This is just
one response.
Guns and Pokemon.
Said a lot of these projects will add highly recognizable IP just to get attention, then swap out the material after they have had that attention. Sometimes they are doing it just because they like the IP, but I feel like that is less common. That was happening with the, I believe it was the one of the Earthbound fan games. They were going to swap out everything. And now it's coming out.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember which one, but they basically got stopped and they were like, well, we've got a plan for alternate characters and story.
There you go. But so you can still put out your game. I mean, I guess you could put out a shoddy-looking first-person shooter where you shoot animals, but no one would care if it wasn't shooting cute little Pikachu or my buddy Poliwhirl.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think it was just meant to be a dumb joke.
Anyway. Just a few weeks ago, we saw Peloton's stock drop 11% because a fictional character died after suffering a heart attack on one. Well, I didn't see that. I mean, today's business sways incredibly easy with the smallest pop culture reference. Now, Nintendo wouldn't shut this immediately. It's just smart business in terms of managing intellectual property. There are better battles to be waged in the right to fair uses under copyright law, but dying on the hill that Nintendo should have otherwise allowed this or work with the programmer is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just...
especially as it quickly goes down a rabbit hole of Nintendo then, by extension, endorsing the speech of the creator, which they know they can't control and can get thorny like Five Nights at Freddy's, and the issues continue from there. I don't know what happens with Five Nights at Freddy's fan games, but I'm guessing if that's like do whatever you want, maybe that went down a dark path. I can picture those mascots being used in nefarious ways.
I mean, the whole point of the game is using them in nefarious ways. They're killers.
Other nefarious ways. I can picture some weird.
There's plenty of
fan
porn.
games.
Yes,
exactly. That would be Nintendo's worst fucking nightmare if that would happen.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of Pokemon porn as it is. You're not going to stop that.
Well, yeah, it's hard to stop people posting stuff on there. Are you allowed to do porn on Tumblr?
Not anymore, I don't think.
Where do you post your Pokemon porn, Ian?
Where do I post mine? Well, when I finish drawing up some fresh Pokemon porn, I don't know.
Is Poliwhirl male or female Poliwhirl?
Could be either.
Is it Spore Off Poliwhirl? Do they have sex Poliwhirls?
Yeah.
That's Poliwhirl's my favorite.
All Pokemon come from eggs.
They come from eggs?
All Pokemon come from eggs.
All of them?
All of them hatch from eggs.
Even though some appear to be mammals.
All of them hatch from eggs.
There's some mammals that have eggs.
Platypus.
There's like four. There's like 4 or 5. Echidnas, there's a couple others.
Yeah.
That have eggs. Most of them don't. And most of them all are in Tasmania because they're good evolution.
Tasmania.
They are. Or because they're all little islands separated. And they all evolved all weird over the 100,000 of years when it came to it. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. You call me prude. It doesn't do with being prude.
I mean, I don't think this person had any malicious intent when making a stupid game where you shoot Pokemon. It's just dumb.
Nintendo's got to nip it in the bud. That's all. They nipped it. They're not going to probably, sue them. But it's like, hey, you're not doing this anymore. That's it. And no one else will. That's what I don't want to see Pokemon get shot in the face, Ian. Come on.